It is November the 8th, 2015, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday in America. I'm Grantham Taylor Hughes for my show. Each week, my guest host is Gabriella Foster. Hi, Gabriella. How are you?
I'm great, Grant. How about yourself?
I'm fine. I'm trying to be robotic like the movie Pleasantville.
I'm sorry? Yeah. What'd you say? About Pleasantville?
Yes, I'm trying to be very robotic like Pleasantville. Did you notice?
Like Pleasantville? You mean the movie Pleasantville? Maybe people don't know what you're speaking about.
Oh, I see. Yes, the movie Pleasantville, for those who haven't seen it, is black and white on the television in like the 1950s. So I was being very robotic in the very beginning to be very pleasant, correct?
I suppose. I'm going to be pleasant, too.
Is that a certain style, I think, what we're talking about? Having style? And trying to have style and substance? Is that possible? To have substance and style? Or is that
substance
just
is style.
too doggone powerful? What?
Substance is style.
Ah, so substance is style.
That's
is that
the true
argument
style. Yeah, having substance is a true style. Mm-hmm.
Oh, a true style. It's like that reverse when they say a picture is worth 1,000 words or 1,000 words is worth a picture.
This picture is worth 1,000 words, yes.
Yes, or it could be 1,000 words is a picture.
No, it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't? I mean, in the description of the picture, you can use 1,000 words.
Okay, so this is interesting conversation tonight. Is it okay if I take a little nap and you can tell me when the show starts?
So what else is new?
Hey, it's very funny.
So you can hear me this week. I apologize for last week's recording because the first 20 seconds seemed to be a little muffled. If it's muffled this time, I'll have to check the recording afterwards. So I do apologize for the technical difficulty, if there is any. You like that?
Mm-hmm. Well, it might have been something at the station, at the Blog Talk, on the Blog Talk end. Maybe not. It might not have been.
Well, I've changed I have a hanging mic from my ear from an earphone instead of I switched to the smartphone finally, so everybody can applaud. Yay! Grantham caved into normal technology. After having a flip phone for so long, I caved to it a few months ago. So I'm in the Terminator worlds like everyone else. I'm in the robotic cyborg worlds like everyone else, moving towards the cyborgism. Rear view mirrors or the selfie extension. You like that one? And they have that selfie thing where you take pictures of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, the word selfie. Is it hilarious or what?
Yeah, yeah, it's ridiculous, but as people are into the selfie thing.
Yeah, but they have this extension arm, which is a prelude to a rear view mirror arm, that you would have on a shoulder pad or something.
Oh,
or
the
inserted into your shoulder. Yeah,
Isn't that called a selfie stick?
Yes. That's so odd, isn't it? Are those big sellers? I haven't seen anybody using them yet. I guess if somebody breaks through.
Isn't that the ultimate of narcissism? Having a selfie stick?
Yeah,
the ultimate for your narcissistic enjoyment. Buy this selfie stick.
Absolutely. Well, I catch people taking pictures of themselves all the time. It's really hilarious, and they're very what do you say, guilt-ridden when you look at them and they feel guilty. They become. Is that how you phrase it? They become guilt. You can tell they're guilty for taking pictures of themselves. God, holding the camera up to their own face. I've done that. When I first got it, I was messing around with that. Well, yeah, the selfie stick. That's hilarious. Well, we blew 6 minutes on nothing. We did pretty good already so far.
Well, if we haven't lost all our audience, I suppose.
They'll never leave. They like us too much. We're too funny.
Well, we'll have to take a survey. Have to take a poll on that one.
Well, we have a very lugubrious topic, and to make light of it, it's quite a dichotomy.
Okay. Well, what is the topic? Selfies?
Well, yeah, it's selfie stick. Right, that's the topic this week, is selfie stick. Taking pictures of oneself. No, of course, it's the 1930 Geneva Convention bankruptcy. A very effervescent topic, correct?
Yes.
Or it could be fashionable. There you go. Thank you very much for that snoring. That my sentiments exactly.
Was I snoring?
However,
I didn't know I snored. Okay.
Well, that's what it's supposed to sound like, correct?
Because I don't know if I've ever snored in my life. Isn't that a guy thing? Or I guess women snore too. I guess women can snore, right?
Well, of course. And that would be, wouldn't that be, what do they call that now? When they sort out a plan or something, there's a phrase for it. The new politically correct phrase in terms of men do what women behaviors and women do men behaviors. Vis-a-vis Caitlyn Jenner, right?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. No comment. That's just only that joke.
Everything's acceptable.
Everything's what?
Everything's acceptable. And
well, not to me. It's not civilized. That's my word for it. Politically. So you can't procreate the species naturally. It shouldn't be done. It's real simple. But I said that on the show before. So go ahead.
I don't know. I don't want to take a stand on it because it's not I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. It just exists, and that's the way it is.
Well, then you don't agree with it, right?
I'm sorry?
You don't agree with it, though.
Well, I don't want to get into this topic. This is not what the show is about, and you're not going to draw me out to do that.
Well done.
Okay?
Bravo. I see.
So
yeah, it's very
I don't want to get in. The show is not about that. So let's talk about what the show is about.
Well, the show is about what I say it's about, but again, it's okay. I respect the fact of not being drawn out into it. You had qualified it before. I'm just saying I made my statement. It's not civilized behavior, so it's perverted. And even the Christian Bible agrees to that. So even though I'm not a Christian, that scripture holds the focus of about 1 billion people. So we're talking about a lot of nonsense is what it's really about. People know it's nonsense. So it's just...
I think you're getting yourself in a lot of hot water here talking about this subject on the air, and I'd rather you actually talked about
I'm not concerned about what I talk about here.
Athene, Cheddar, or health.
It's my show. I can talk what I want, and I'm just saying...
You can, but those aren't supposed to be the planks of the show.
I'm not getting into hot water.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, because there's a lot of points of view on this subject, and this is not what the show's about. I think. Yeah. The show's about solvency, sovereignty, Athene, shadow, and health. Any one of those 4 planks we can pretty much talk about, unless you want to change the title of the show and change the 4 planks of the show. Then your audience might change.
I think that sovereignty includes that to a certain degree. So does health. I mean, it's not healthy to do the weird stuff like that. So I'm just saying that it's inclusive in there. I'm not going to talk about it any further. As I said, it's not civilized. Go with that. And people understand it without having to get into a big focus on the issue. And like I said, we don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but I'm just saying that the planks that I have include a lot of different views, and I don't think they're uninclusive of pretty much a broad range of issues. All right, so I'm just saying that, and I can talk about what I want to talk about. I'm not getting hot water. If anything, it's going to help people to be seated and listen to the truth in the matter. And since nobody really takes a stand because they consider it politically incorrect to do that, so all that nonsense. I mean, somebody has to make a comment once in a while, or just allow nonsense to continue. Is that what you want to do? Allow nonsense to continue? It's like on the road, and the drivers texting, and then put these big gaps between the cars, and then creating a lot of non-facilitation of the traffic. And it's a problem. Or like the fast lane is not the fast lane anymore. We don't know the distinction. Sure, it was a rule of thumb in the past. Nobody really said that the left-hand side was fast and the right-hand side was a slow lane. Okay? That's not necessarily a topic of what we're talking about in the show either, but you're not jumping in there with 2 feet and condemning that particular topic. I'm just saying that anything can be talked about. As I've even said in the description today, I said it, the bankruptcy and also other political agenda. And that's fine, because I think we can go horizontal with a lot of things, because there are some things that need to be discussed that people don't talk about. Just like I brought up the idea of Pleasantville. The whole movie is funny because it's about naivete and what people think about and what they don't articulate. And the platform I have here is articulating things that people aren't aware of, just like solvency and the money issues. People don't want to talk about the fact that money is debt currency. They just want it and want to spend it. So it sounds like the movie with Robert Redford, 3 Days of the Condor, when the actor that played Charlie, what was his name? I can't remember his name.
I know who you mean. Cliff Robertson.
Yeah, Cliff Robertson said that as the character in the movie, he said it doesn't matter whether oil is good or bad. People just want it, and they want somebody to get it for them. And that's how the government or whomever is the manufacturer has to go about to feed the monkey, so to speak. And so it's not a matter of if and or but. They want it, the demand issue. What is the demand, the colloquial demand of what's taking place? Is health, sovereignty, and solvency and agency and shadow part of the demand? Well, I have to insert that in there and say, look, this needs to be positioned into our matrix. Otherwise, if we don't have health, what's the point of it? And look at America, 65% obesity rate, and that might be a conservative view. It's probably getting worse. I don't necessarily see it getting better. I mean, you and I talk about being raw vegan, okay, but those are very few, far in between that are 100%. Those are very rare people. But the people that are obese is not rare. I mean, think about it. It's more than half the population. That's pretty pathetic. And I don't necessarily think that the health is putting a dent into it. I think there's more of an awareness of it. Maybe that seed will be planted to make a change in the future, maybe a sweeping change. I don't know, because the idea of hydration is easy. It's not difficult to drink water. And imagine medical science arguing against intake of water. That's pretty stupid, isn't it? I think. Does that get me in hot water, calling doctors stupid? I don't think so, right? I know a lot of people would agree.
I'm sure, because doctors don't really, most doctors, I think there's very few that know anything about nutrition or are interested in nutrition, don't understand about that aspect. So they're all into, as we've mentioned before, they're into either surgery or pharmaceuticals. What's the other term? Burning things away, I guess, through radiation or chemotherapy. So they don't really take a holistic approach to try to heal through nutritional or supplements or anything like that.
Right, absolutely. And so therefore they would be ignorant because they're ignoring the facts in the matter. They wouldn't consider them facts and argue the point, but then the experience of people being healthier is an issue. And if their people are dying whilst other people are being are healthy, then who has the right of way in terms of the facts of the matter? See, my opinion is the experience of it, and if people are getting older and healthier and their quality of life is better because they're doing alternative to medical science and all that nonsense, that's Pleasantville stuff too. It's ignorance because they're ignoring the facts of the matter. But the proof is in the pudding. In the next 10 or 20 years, if I'm still here and ranting about my stuff, then and I look good, I'm healthy. I mean, you ran 6 miles with me today, so we ran 6 miles together. Gabriella's a runner too, and it was we went to a park called Ridley Park over here, and it's a really great experience to run in the park. It's very natural, very conducive to nature, nurture, as Shakespeare talks about. It's very important, and so health is a major consideration. But I think a lot of people, because of, as my opinion is, the mortal factor is a big issue with people. They say, well, why bother? We're all going to die, so what's the point? I mean, that's mostly the undertow, because we have to pull that undertow up and say, look, what is the general consensus, and then overcome the general consensus and say, well, truly we are mortal, but we can make an indefinite factor instead of making a definite factor around 70 to 100. You see what I mean? And I think that we need to break that barrier like they do in the East. In India, they don't have so much of a barrier with that as far as you go east in the older countries. So we have to break that barrier because I think it's important, because then we have issues that are retrogressive issues like obesity and morbidity and just all sorts of negative occurrences because of a mortality issue. I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, what else could it be? Why do people behave the way they do or are very negative? Because they know they don't last long. So then what's the point of behaving in society or having peace in society if everybody's going to die shortly? I think that's the issue about not being very long, and then people just give up the ship. Well, what's your opinion about that?
Well, people are not interested in life, or they don't have anything that really stirs them, so that's why they give up, and they don't understand what life is about, so they think that there's nothing there, and they just become despondent. Or if they've lost somebody they love, then they really, many people who really, really tremendously love that person have a difficult time to continue because they feel like part of them has gone. So many people don't have the ability to understand their own individuality and the strength in that, and go beyond the basic simplistic philosophies that are being taught today.
All right, so is that a load of casuistry, or do you? My opinion is I appreciate that, but what I'm thinking is, what's the stimulus to carry on? Okay, I mean, is like you said, individuality or a speciality of being a pianist or any type of profession, is that enough to stimulate people to carry on at great length or to have extensive longevity, to break the barrier of 100 years old and have a quality of life of looking good? Is that enough stimulus, a liberal art of some kind? I mean, if they know that there's really no perfection in their art, and you can be an expert pianist, but they pianists know that perfection is never achieved. I mean, that was the whole point of Michelangelo when he's claiming that he was a failure, because he didn't achieve perfection in his opinion. And I agree, because he's disproportions in his artworks, and they make that argument about, well, he was doing this, and there was a reason for the Piazza where she's bigger than the Jesus sprawled across his lap, the Virgin Mary, and they make excuses for that. And I'm saying, well, try to do sculpture. You tell me if its proportions are hard. Like David's head is really big because I think he was putting a lot of attention on it. He kind of just drummed out the bottom part of it, getting tired of fooling with it. But then they make all sorts of excuses why. I just think proportions are hard in sculptures. But I always say, look at Bernini and his proportions. They're perfect. You see what I mean? So there are greater artists out there, but I'm talking about the seeking of perfection and despondency over not attaining perfection, but puts a damper on the mortality too. See, so how do you stimulate to continue if your belief system is no way can you achieve perfection, but you can always attempt to achieve perfection, and they still call that futility. And I say, well, it was kind of divine futility. So it has dignity and continuing on. But again, how do you spur a mortal individual onward? See, that to me is very difficult. Yeah, and in terms of being to continue. I mean, if somebody is limited in their platform or their life or whatever you want to call it in terms of their reality, what's the point of it? See, if it's going to go away, so how do you carry on? How do you continue to do that? I mean, there have been great people, supposedly great people, whatever, quote unquote, that haven't lived a long life. You know, Mozart was 35. There are a lot of very young people. Raphael was in his early 30s, I think. So there are a lot of people that they say the good die young and all that business, and I don't really believe in that cliche. But so that's the discussion. What keeps people stimulated to live a long life? I mean, really. I mean, when you get right down to it, I think it's difficult. I think I skimmed over maybe an answer to it early on here in terms of if you have better health and you look better, and then diversification in your capabilities to be not just a jack of all trades and a master of none, try to master it all. But you need time to do it, see? Or what they declare efficiency and expertise. I mean, that's a relative view, too. If somebody has the ability, like a great artist, to produce a product, but if you talk to them, they consider it a failure. Or I'm always joking about logic, and people like what I have to say and the substance of it and blah, blah, blah. But then, you know, I this anecdote about someone stood up in a talk one time and said, I don't agree with anything you said in the last half hour. And I said, I think you're right. You see, because the logic is a complete failure. But they want to hear it. They want to hear substance and enlightening concepts and what have you. That's why you have the Deepak Chopras and Eckhart Tolles and Tony Robbins et al. See? So, I mean, they continue on because they twist and turn their words in such a way that it sounds formidable. And then what do you have? Well, a bunch of casuistry, ultimately, in logic. I mean, it works today, but not tomorrow. See, so that's a key question. How do you stimulate the masses to live a long time when they don't? I mean, if they lived like Jack LaLanne dies at 95, right? And people, oh, well, that was a long and productive life. Well, was it? If somebody lives to be 200 or better, then in the West they don't believe it. See, that's a big issue to me. The longevity thing is very important, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you've heard me talk about the stimulus to continue, and I think that probably life in itself is enough stimulus because you're alive and you want to continue. Maybe that's the only stimulus that you need. In fact, you're the life itself. Maybe that's the default mechanism. Could be, right? What do you think?
Oh, well, you're talking about people being stimulated in their lives?
No, I'm talking about them. What is a stimulus to keep people from succumbing to mortality in a definite term, short term? What could stimulate somebody to live indefinitely, live to be 200 or 300 years old? And they say it's not possible in the West. See, so there's a lot of things against it. In other words, extensive longevity, to me, would need a stimulus to do it. So, as I said a minute ago, is life itself. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I think they're interested in life because they're interested in continually learning. They're not bored. They're excited about everything. And you can be 80 and still be excited about everything, just like our friend Betty, who's 83, and she's been taking these pottery classes and turning out all these fabulous sculptures and things because she's really into it. She's really prolific with it, and she really does good work. And she's into eating healthily, like we eat, eating raw vegan, and she's the only one among all her friends who doesn't have arthritis. They're all been, and she's out doing things because she, and she is a widow of 25 years, so she's still interested in life, and she doesn't have a desire to just cut it off. So I think, it's interesting because I remember talking to a gentleman a year or two ago who had just retired, and he had been an executive at a corporation, and he was going, I'm hiccuping. Sorry about that, everybody. He had been an executive at a corporation, and he was going crazy. And he said, I don't know what to do with myself. I said, what do you mean you don't know what to do with yourself? I said, there's so many things to do that are interesting. I said, I don't understand that. And because I don't. Because all he did was work for 40-some years and work his way up the ladder, and he was successful and did well, and he retired, and that image of that work person was what he identified with. So when he gave that up, he didn't realize that he still existed. He was still an individual that still existed, and there was more to life than that. So it's totally people's perspective. And, there's so many factors that go into it. So whether you're single or you're with somebody that you love, either way, you can still be interested in life and make things happen for you.
Well, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. I think we each something for each other.
I was saying,
mm-hmm.
Well, that's the irony when you don't interrupt cues, you don't see people. That's what I was trying to say. Is life itself enough stimulus to keep people going, or they need intricate, complex stimulus to get them to be interested, or is it just a catharsis? Or my mentors used to talk about the term abreaction, which is a more positive term than the cold catharsis, something to do. See, the something to do to keep you going, keep you active, keep you interested. See, so in other words, you want to get up the next day and participate. And I think that, as I said, perhaps life itself, like we're born into this world, is enough animation, or the physicists talk about motion being it's a big deal to them. They always fall back and default on the practice of motion, where we're in motion in terms of our physical lives, and that of itself is enough to continue. I think that people hang on for dear life, and sometimes you look at their life and it's pretty much worthless. That's sad to say, and in my opinion, but again, that becomes subjective too. The subjectivity of the judgment of what people do has value. That's another big issue too. Well, we went through the 30 minutes and not even hitting on. Well, we did talk about the planks, but didn't go into the planks, and I apologize for that to a certain degree. But I think it was a very healthy, so to speak, discussion on longevity. All right, so we're down to the last minute. Gabriella, thank you for your commentary. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. It was fun.
Okay. You can't fill up another 20 seconds, sir?
Oh, yes, I can. I'm chewing very, very slowly for those people who don't realize that I'm not eating anything. I'm just chewing to make this time pass. Is that 20 seconds
okay.
yet?
I appreciate that. That was very well done. All right, so again, thank all the journeymen. I thank all the journeymen for being on this week, and for the new people as well. Have a good week. This is Grantham Hughes, and I'll be back next Sunday, same time, same station. Sounds like the Lone Ranger, right? All right.
Yeah.
Bye all. Bye for now. Thank you.